Good day, and welcome to the Silverlight Show. Today's topic is going to be about opportunity. I've actually tried to record this a few times, and it just didn't really quite work to the way I wanted it to. But I found it tacked, and I like it, so here we go. This is a bad economic period. The jobs just simply aren't there. If you look at your long-term indexes, there's a little bit of an uptick in raw product deliveries, things like plastic, steel, wood, and it goes right back into the dumps again. So obviously, not really a great time to be looking for a job. And if you are looking for a job at the present time, you have my sympathy. I have always had a unique set of skills, to quote Liam Neeson. I don't make anybody's life harder, but I can make it a hell of a lot easier. Now, the difference between me and a lot of people nowadays is that they don't look for opportunities. I was always trying, and I worked in logistics and transportation for 25 years. I was always trying to broaden my horizons, to learn how to do new things, even to do other positions. For example, when I first got started out, I was a dispatch clerk. This is back in the 90s. And they were pleased. I was working temporarily for this company. They were pleased with me. And they said, we have an opening in OS&D, overages, shortages, and damages, all the things the company doesn't know what to do with. Are you interested? Absolutely. My own office, full-time employment with the company, there was no disadvantage to it. However, here's where my unique skill set got me in a little bit of trouble. They could find people that could do OS&D. And believe me, there's a lot of them out there. But what they couldn't find was a dispatch clerk. So when they had the chance to hire an OS&D guy, and they told me, sorry, you're staying here. Well, aren't you going to hire me full time? No, we're going to keep you where you are when another opportunity comes up. Oh, great. So I left and found another job. I got paid more, got, a nicer office and everything. It was a good decision for me. I could have been pissed off. I could have been mad at everybody at the company. No, I moved ahead. Now keep in mind, the years of 1999 and 2000 were an entirely different world. Job market was different, prospects were different. But I realized that sometimes, and this has happened to me more than once, you don't get a promotion simply because they don't have anybody who can replace you. Hard to say. Now, I was always looking at other opportunities. I didn't want to retire as a dispatcher, as a director, or anything like that. I wanted a different job, don't care what. I got into dispatching medical technicians. I was at least interesting enough, different enough, that gave me some interesting experiences. But I was always looking for other opportunities. I've had opportunities presented to me. Maybe the most interesting one was, I'm trying to figure out how much of this I'm allowed to say. These are the kind of jobs you don't find in the paper. These are the kind of jobs people approach you and start describing the job and look to see if you're interested. I was going to be going to fledgling democracies, and this is back in about 2010, I believe. Yeah, it was around 2010. And because of my background as a military veteran, they wanted me to go there and just to guard the machines. Okay, I'm interested. You've got to show that you're interested. They just kind of talk vaguely. And it was something I considered. Let me put it this way. If I'd done this job for 2 years, I would have been more than a millionaire by now. And now I'm a millionaire because of other factors in my life. That being said, job with travel to interesting places and meeting interesting people. But as a veteran, I asked the logical question. How am I supposed to protect the machine? Like, are you going to give me, weapons, armor and stuff? No, you just stand there. ooh, I know where some of those machines are going, and that's why you need to pay so much money to get people to stand there to protect them. I passed on that opportunity. Now, like I said, it was never, hey, we've got a job for you. It's like, oh, this is what our company does. And we're, just explaining it to you. It wasn't a formal interview. It was, they were feeling me out on the side. But it's an opportunity. And I thought carefully about it. Sometimes I wish I'd done it. But judging by the way things are in the world at any time in history, it's a fairly high-risk job. But those opportunities come up and most people don't see them. My wife works for a company that's undergoing a merger. Now, her manager, they get along together. And her manager said, I think when we merge with the other company, you'd be great in shipping and receiving. And my wife hums and haws because she's never been taught to drive a forklift. No big skill there, but same token, it is different than what she's used to doing. I know for a fact she could be taught that. But she came home to me and she's hemming and hawing, my uncle works in the shipping, but this other person that sometimes she's had a problem with works in shipping and she's really not sure what to do about it. And I tried explaining to her, your boss is trying to push you into position for a reason. My wife is already trained on her manager's duties. She's trained on, she's a team lead for her people, and she does know basically what goes on in receiving. Tell you the truth, she already does a little bit of the shipping. She's just worried about driving a forklift. She'll be out of her comfort zone. I've driven a forklift before. I've never had a lesson in my life. I was just told, do you think you can do it? Let me get in and see if I can do it. And yeah, not that big of a problem. But I realized the manager in question was also looking to get promoted. But her manager blocked it because at that point, my wife's manager's manager knew she couldn't run the floor by herself, and she didn't trust any of her subordinates to do the job. Now, my wife's manager has taught her all the management duties. Once my wife figures out shipping receiving, I have no doubt the manager wants to move onward in her career. She's getting older. She's done the warehouse thing for at least 10 years. And justifiably, she's thinking, it's my time to move on to something better. My wife isn't seeing that opportunity, but the manager is trying to say, you learn shipping receiving. When we switch to the other company, we'll all be one big happy family. I can move up, and then you can move into my job. Her manager's planning ahead, which is, it's nice to see a manager planning ahead instead of just reacting. But it's a potentially huge opportunity, and my wife just isn't seeing it because she's afraid of learning to drive a forklift. She drives a car. She's perfectly good at it. The opportunity's literally at her feet. I said, have you ever heard of foot and door technique? No, I don't blame her. I explained, get your foot in the door. Whatever happens after that, happens. And that's what she needs to do right now. She's being offered an opportunity to get her foot in the door. Maybe and this merger has not been announced. It's one of those things, everybody knows it, but it hasn't been announced. That opportunity is sitting there for her, and it would set her up for a potentially much more prosperous future. But she's just not seeing it. And most people are like that. It's easy for me to go on Indeed.com or, Facebook jobs or anything like that, and it doesn't really look promising. If my wife does receiving, in addition to all the other things she's done, her opportunities will open up. My best friend's son is getting to the point where he's looking at graduating out of high school shortly, and he's decided to go into the trades. That's a good idea. AI is fantastic, but when your heater breaks down in the middle of the winter, a robot ain't coming out to help you. You're going to need those trades for a long time. There's opportunities there, like if he decides to go to Alberta or something and, work on the oil fields and as an electrician, as a plumber, as whatever they need out there. He could develop himself quite a nice career. My kid wants to be a doctor, my youngest. And I support her in that, but I'm also trying to put ideas in her head, not to discourage her, but to think, here's what else you can do besides being a family physician. You could be a veterinarian. You could be, one of those consulting doctors that they bring in when they see something weird. By all means, shoot for the stars. Don't limit yourself, but take the opportunities when they're there. The school sent out this form about some sort of economic seminar. And it's a whole day thing. They go to a different school. They, meet and greet with kids their age. They get to learn stuff. And I think it's fantastic. It's an opportunity. And this actually becomes a club in grade 9. She could join up. Well, that's going to look damn good on a university application. And she's meeting new people. She's experiencing new things. Maybe she can become a doctor of economics. There's a lot of opportunities. I'm just trying to get her to see beyond the doctor's route. Because most people think, I've been a carpenter for 20 years. What am I going to do now? Well, my dad was a carpenter. That sounds a little grandiloquent when I say it that way. And he realized that the business was changing. So he moved to driving a bus, regular city bus, stuff like that. Well, that gave him benefits, medical, health, dental, and a pension, a government pension. So now, while people kind of used to look down on him, he's a bus driver, what the hell does he know? He's sitting pretty in a house that's paid off by his hard work. He took the opportunity. He did a cost benefit analysis. And he said, I'll make more money and I'll have a better long term by driving a bus, which my dad can drive almost anything. And it was just using a skill that he already had. I've been on the unemployment line once or twice before, and I've always tried to get additional training. And the conversation that drives me nuts is I sit there, I pass my resume, all my, transferable skills and stuff like that. And then the employment person says, well, what do you want to be? I don't know. With these skills, what do you think? You're the one with the education in this field. What do you think I can do? I'm looking for opportunities. I'm desperate to get them. But that's the nutshell for today. Always remember there's opportunities. Always remember there's things you can be doing. You're not just a custodian. You would have the ability to take your job and do it freelance, provided there's no NDA or anything associated in there. But that's, in this economy, that's what you got to be looking for. I would never suggest somebody opens a restaurant, but maybe if your grandmother had a secret recipe and that's something that you feel comfortable in passing on, then you should pass it on. There's ways to do it. I've looked into it before. When the hot sauce craze first started, I still have a good Trinidadian friend whose mother makes homemade hot sauce, and we had a plan to bottle it. The only reason we didn't go through with it is we weren't really familiar on how to interest like a Loblaws, like a Metro, like somebody really big, like Walmart, to put it on their shelves and how to advertise. And we were young and dumb back then. I'm a little more experienced with that now. But with all the rest of my education and experience, I know it's not a great market to be in. There's opportunities there. You're going to have to abandon this model of applying for a job, going through interviews, and, the interviews that may or may not be for a real job. And we're going to have to learn to put our own opportunities in place. It ain't the 1970s anymore. It's 2026. Opportunities exist. You just can't go about things the traditional way anymore. With that, just something to think about. Next week, of course, we will be releasing our annual Super Bowl halftime analysis show. Actually, Bad Bunny looks like he's going to put on a good show. I'll be very interested in it. And to see the choreography and all that. I have no idea what that thump was, but I should probably go check. So with that, we hope you have a fantastic day.